Hello, and welcome to Connecting Jewish Grandparents, the Grand Plan podcast. Grand Plan, where we work to use Jewish wisdom to create joyful, intentional connections. And today's episode is sponsored the Ilui Neshama in the memory of Ilya Gamel, Eliezer ben Devorah. Ilya always worked to connect his family and his heritage from door to door, from generation to generation. But Ilya made every person he met feel like a beloved member of his family. May his soul be elevated. He is missed enormously. From that note, I want to move to, well, what might be going on in your life right now, because sometimes life does not go on the path you wanted and things get a bit off track. And sometimes it goes slowly. Things get a little more distant, a little less clarity, the sense that something important is slipping. And sometimes, in the blink of an eye, things feel completely wrong. And I suspect that you have experienced both of these at some point. The gradual misalignment and the shocking, what has happened here? How is this the world I am in? And this week's Torah portion, the double portion, in Bechukotai, it describes in quite painful details how, what is happening when life is so far from what you thought it should be and would be. Really painful, horrific things that you could just say, oh, the trees not producing fruit, not being in the land, but you know from recent Jewish history how painful that reality is. So whether it's major, or whether it's minor disconnection, the Torah really has the same advice. The step one is noticing what you are doing wrong and coming to connect it, to repair it. But once you have noticed it for yourself, then the Almighty steps in. And here he says, V'zacharti, and I remember, et Briti Yaakov, ve'af et Briti Yitzchak, ve'af et Briti Avraham, ezkor ve'aretz ezkor. That pasuk, it's a very long portion, but these words, they stick to me. They clung to me, and I couldn't imagine speaking about anything else this week. So, what is so powerful about that pasuk, that sentence? Well, first of all, it doesn't say start over. We've had that in the Torah. We had Noach and the flood and everything starting over. We've had things go terribly wrong and and to start anew. And it doesn't say, well, try harder. You're not doing enough. It says you do the mental and emotional work to acknowledge that you were wrong, and I, the Almighty, will remember my covenant with your ancestors. Okay, so that alone is powerful, very impactful. But that's not it. That's just scratching the surface. Okay, now invoking the names of the forefathers, we do it a lot in Tefillah and the Amidah, right? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. It like rolls off the tongue. Except the pasuk I read to you did not roll off my tongue. I had to say it a bit slowly and carefully. And in no way did it say Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. It said, Ve'ez kartin, I will remember, et Briti Yaakov, be'af et Briti Yitzchak. Okay, so we started with Yaakov and then Yitzchak, and then we go to Avraham. What? Did you forget the chronological order? No, of course didn't forget. So why is it backwards here? Well, because maybe that's how we always have to find our way back. We don't start in the most distant place. We start with the closest relationship that we can reach. We don't need to go as far back as possible. We begin with the grandparent we knew, the one whose voice we remember, the one whose presence still shapes us. For me, in my today life, that takes me to my grandmother's and my grandfather's. But one of the interesting things about this pasuk, Rabbeinu Bachye says part of the repetition of language here, et Briti Yaakov, et Briti Yitzchak, et Briti Avraham. He says that the et Briti, the et refers to the wives. This isn't just Yitzchak, Yaakov, Yitzchak, Avraham. It is Rachel, Leah, Rivka, Sarah. They are part of what the Almighty remembers to connect us back to, that we need to be remembering as well, to go through that process of coming back to being who we need to be. Connecting to our patriarchs and our matriarchs. That return, it's not just about lineage, it's about relationship and memory and emotional inheritance. And that isn't bridged upon any one individual. I talk about grandparents a lot, but it could be anyone. It's who you link back to, whose memory you're carrying, and what you come back to set yourself back on course. Because when something matters, when identity feels uncertain, in catastrophic ways or in the smaller, unsettled, disaligned world, we return to grandparents. Not because they have all the answers, but because they carry continuity in a way that no one else does and no one else can. The potential for the future is locked within the past. And one more thing about this pasuk, though really I could speak for a very long time about it, is it has a typo. If you're listening, you can't see I'm making quotation marks. Obviously, the Torah would never have a typo. It's not typed, and there are no mistakes, so not a typo. But Yaakov's name is misspelled. There is an extra vav in the middle of Yaakov's name. Well, middle, second to last letter. What? There are no mistakes in any letter of the Torah, so why is this one different? Rashi says that there's actually 5 times that in the Tanakh where Yaakov's name has an extra vav. There are a few different commentators that give the reason for why. But what Rashi says is there is also 5 times in the Tanakh where Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, is missing a vav in his name. And this is the connection, according to Rashi, that the ultimate redemption, the messianic age that Eliyahu is going to bring is hinged upon Yaakov. And each time we bring ourselves back to connect to our patriarchs, our grandparents, we are that much closer to the redemption that Elijah the prophet will be bringing. And he's making sure we're doing those. He's making sure that we are preserving our Jewish family heritage generation to generation. He was at your Pesach Seder. He promised he'd be there to check in on all of your family there. He was at the Brit Milah with his chair. And this is the guarantee that we will be redeemed, that we are close to that redemption as we move generation to generation, preserving what we have from the past, from the cup of Elijah at the Passover Seder, from the chair of Elijah at the Brit Milah, from the vav that isn't in his name to the vav that is in Yaakov's name, from the grandparent that you are remembering to the grandparent that you are today. That is the connection that takes us there. So it isn't who were our grandparents in a stagnant sort of way, or who were the original patriarchs and matriarchs. It is how does my repair process, how does who I am today transform this moment and the future? What type of grandparent are you? What type of grandparent are you becoming? And one day you will be the one that will be remembered, that will be called out to help set things back. To further this question, and really to further the look into Yaakov, Yitzchak, Avraham, and all the matriarchs, I want you to join me. I really encourage you to join me in the course series of Becoming the Grandparent That You Want to Be, where we go deep into these Torah personalities to look at our potential, what they are mapping for us in our grandparenting journey. The next group starts in a few weeks. So check the show notes and or reach out to me to learn more. I really hope that you can join me in this experience. The women who are in it now, they've said it is life-changing. Lost the internet for a minute there. So I hope you're there with me. As I was explaining, I hope you will join me in this course. Reach out to me, look at the show notes in becoming the grandparent you want to be. This week's episode was sponsored in memory of Ilya Gamel. If you would like to sponsor a future episode in honor or memory of a loved one, check the show notes and please do dedicate this learning to elevate a loved one, a lost one, or one you're currently connected with. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.